and welcome to the 2017 season of the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup Championship. We're here at Donington for rounds 1 and 2.
Very strong entry list this weekend in the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup. Christian England, the reigning LMP3 champion of Europe, has alongside the American driver Andrew Evans. We've got the reigning radical European champion Tony Wells teamed up with Matt Bell, Andy Dimitri and Bob Berridge in the 360 racing car, and T-Sport, it's the ex-F1 racer Karun Chandhok and Steve Tandy. The Talkworth Motorsport pairing of Richard Dean and Sarah Moore look tasty. Richard with huge amounts of experience, and also in the number 72 Douglas Motorsports car, Mike Newball teamed up with the Australian driver Tom Randall. Fantastic entry list for the first round.
So Andrew, this is your first season racing an LMP3?
Correct, and this is my first year racing in Europe as well. Coming from the United States, this is all new tracks, new cars, really exciting opportunity here.
How does it compare to racing in the States?
The competition over here is very, very close, all within a second. Back in the States, although it's competitive, it's not nearly as close. Further, the cars and the racetracks are a lot more smooth and really make for great competition.
Tom, this is your first season in an LMP3 car. How are you finding it?
Yeah, really terrific. I mean, the car is wonderful to drive. It's got plenty of grip, plenty of horsepower, you know, with a V8 in the back of it. And I really enjoy driving the car.
I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. You know, around here, Donington Park with a LMP3 car, it doesn't really get much better.
I've raced up the single-seater Lander and F3, GP2, Formula 1 for a couple of years, and then moved into sports car racing and raced at the World Endurance Championship and Le Mans for 4 years now. I'm going back to Le Mans this year, and that's what brings me here. The guys at T-Sport who run this car entered the LMP3 Championship. They had a seat available. They asked if I wanted to do it. It's a great way for me to get warmed up before going to the World Championship round at Spa and obviously Le Mans. So here I am.
Tell me, what is it that made you want to come into the LMP3 Championship this year?
I think you've only got to take a look at the cars. They're beautiful bits of kit, proper racing cars, and really good value for money. So they tick all the boxes for us, that's for sure.
What are the sort of unique things that you found about the LMP3 Championship? Is there anything that makes it different to the other championships in terms of being a team boss, what you're having to think about this weekend?
There's a few different things for this weekend. Obviously, it's a new championship. It's new to us as well. The car's new to us. So there's quite a few different little bits and pieces in terms of still trying to learn the car. We've got two drivers that are relatively new to us, so trying to get the best out of those two guys and get them working together. Quite a few bits like that are a challenge for this weekend.
Let's have a look at the grid then. Paul Bailey and Andy Schultz start on pole position. It's Christian England and Andrew Evans alongside. Row 2 of the grid is Matt Bell and Tony Wells, with row 3 being Jason Rishover and Jamie Spence. The cars are on their green flag warming up. The race gets underway. Paul Bailey behind the wheel of the number 28 car that starts from pole position. They rocket their way up towards what is Redgate Corner for the first time, and sweeping his way around the outside goes Tony Wells. The reigning radical European champion goes through and into the lead of the first ever championship race for the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup, and is already starting to try and build an advantage if he can over Paul Bailey, driver who was a champion in the GTO class of the GT Cup a few seasons ago. Everybody safely through the first couple of corners. All of these cars powered by identical V6 Nissan engines. They're all actually the Ligier chassis this weekend that are entered. A bit of a locked break there. That's the Talkworth Motorsport car. Richard Dean just snatching a break and losing a position by the look of things. Already it looks as though our race leader Tony Wells, that fantastic start, is just starting to build the advantage between himself and Paul Bailey, who's there in second place. Third place is the second of the two United Autosports car we've got. That is the 35-year-old European Le Mans LMP3 champion Kristen England, who closes up onto the coattails of the car in second position. You can see already the advantage that Tony Wells has built up after just one lap of racing. Paul Bailey under pressure from Christian England. The United Autosport car jinks out from behind. Is he going to be able to squeeze his way through and make it a United Autosports 1-2? Yes, he does. Through he goes. So Christian England's up to second. Paul Bailey is down into third place, but now nipping at his heels is Jason Rishover, who's had a fantastic start from what was 7th on the grid at the wheel of car number 23. The former Radical racer bounces over the curbs on the apex of the old hairpin and is hot on the heels of Paul Bailey, who lay ahead. Onto the brakes, in towards the right-hander at McLean's. They work their way. These two cars now getting caught by the number 79 car in the hands of Alistair McCaig. Alistair sniffing one way, having a look the other to try and see whether he might be able to unlock the door to what would be fourth position, but Jason Rishover's having none of it at this stage. They're also now getting caught by Richard Dean, who, having lost a place following that snatch break, has managed to get himself back to where he needs to be, hot on the heels of this little trio that lie ahead. In fact, there goes the Topworth Motorsport car in the hands of the man who, of course, heads up the United Autosports team. His team currently first and second in the race. Paul Bailey still under pressure from Jason Rishover, who's looking to try and work her way through, and there's a little bit of contact between the two of them. They push each other wide, and sneaking his way up the inside to gain a couple of places. Now goes the car of Alistair McCaig. So Alistair McCaig's now up into third. Paul Bailey's down into fourth. Richard Dean has picked the pocket of Jason Rishover as a bit of bodywork just flies off the tail end of what was the pole-sitting number 28 car of Paul Bailey. That really has now shuffled the order off and into the gravel trap in the background. That looks like it's the number 6 car of Andy Dimitri that's had a problem up at McLean's corner. So he's rotated the car. Thankfully the car is able to dig its way back out of the gravel. It will continue, but of course it's now lost a raft of time in the process. As for our race leader, well, no longer on his own is Tony Wells. It certainly looks as though he is now getting caught, Tony, who has got experience in both LMP3 cars and LMP2 as well, but he's being caught by Christian England, the 35-year-old runner-up in the British Formula Ford Championship back in 2002, but of course the reigning LMP3 European Le Mans Series champion, now looking for the lead of the race. He shows the nose of the car to his teammate, doesn't try anything too drastic though on the approach towards Redgate Corner. The last thing you want to do is take out your teammate, so yeah, just opts to slot back behind. Plenty of time to go in the race, and there will, I'm sure, be other opportunities as the race wears on. Down through the Crater curves they work their way. It's the United Autosport 1-2. Christian England bouncing off the curbs coming out of the old hairpin. He's going to have another go this time, heading up towards Redgate Corner. He's got the inside line and he goes through to take the lead of the race. It's still a United Autosport 1-2, but the order has now been shuffled. Christian England leads the race. Tony Wells is there in second position. This is the battle for fifth now, with Jason Rishover running wide coming out of Redgate Corner. That allows the hugely experienced Richard Dean to squeeze his way through to the Topworth Motorsport car, gaining the position there. Let's just have a quick look at where Paul Bailey is. Well, here he is at the moment, Paul Bailey. He is sitting there in fourth position. Richard Dean in his newly acquired fifth place. Jason Rishover sitting there in sixth position. Jason will hand that car over to former British Formula 3 national class champion Jamie Spence later on over the course of the race, whereas for Richard Dean, the red and white car that's prepared by Topworth Motorsport will be handed over to ex-Ginetta Junior champion Sarah Moore. Those two, though, are pretty evenly matched at this stage of the race, and you can see, whilst they're in fifth and sixth place, the fourth place car is not that far up the road. Problems by the look of things. That's the Speedworks prepared car of Dean Gibbs. Dean, who we saw racing in the GT Cup Championship last year, clearly having problems through Craner curves, so there'll be yellow flags there and no overtaking. But we have now got Richard Dean having gained a place. He has moved himself through into fourth place. Down to fifth goes Paul Bailey. The number 23 car of Jason Rishover sitting there in sixth place. Well, looks as though Dean Gibbs has managed to get going again. The Speedworks car, I think, limping its way around the circuit, is probably going to be destined for the pits at the end of this lap, as this fantastic fight for what is fourth, fifth and sixth continues as Jason Rishover goes through there. Slight mistake from Paul Bailey, who couldn't get the car turned into the corner, and he is now through. We've also now got a battle brewing for what is second position, because Tony Wells at the wheel of the number 3 United Autosports car has now been caught by the charging Alistair McCaig. Now the Acuria Cos car has gone very well so far this weekend in qualifying, in the hands of both Alistair McCaig and in the hands of Colin Noble. Jason Rishover runs very wide coming out of McLean's corner. That might allow Paul Bailey up the inside, heading in towards Coppice corner. He dives on the brakes to avoid contact, and the number 28 Horsepower Racing Ligier heads into the gravel trap up at Coppice corner. Yellow flags being waved, safety car coming out so we can extract that car from the gravel trap. No damage done, and also that car's now stopped out on circuit. Dean Gibbs, who stopped up at Craner Curves earlier on in the race, is being given the thumbs up by the marshal, and all of a sudden finds some drive and some momentum again. So surely that car will be destined for the pit lane at the end of this lap. Paul Bailey has now been extracted from the gravel, so the Horsepower Racing number 28 machine back out and circulating. You can see the amount of gravel though bouncing around from the tail end of that car as Dean Gibbs does indeed bring his Ligier into the pit lane. Lights are out on the safety car, so the last bit of weaving from side to side being done so as to maintain whatever temperature they can in the controlled Pirelli tyres that all of these cars run in the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup. And it's up to Christian England to decide as to when he wants to get his foot down and go for it again. Here they go, race is back on, over the start-finish line they'll go. Christian England leads. It's Tony Wells, the reigning European Radical champion, sitting there in second place. Alistair McCaig is there in third position. And fourth place is going to be Richard Dean in fourth place, with Jason Rishover in fifth place. In sixth, by the look of things, the Douglas Motorsport car of Mike Newbold was there in sixth place. So the race is back on. We've had some great fights in the early stages of this one. Of course, we've got the driver change and the pit window to come up later on in the race, but it is Christian England who is starting to pull away, a driver who's slightly more familiar with these cars compared to some of the other drivers that are new to the championship. Back out of the pit lane, and fingers crossed now the Speedworks team have sorted the problem for Dean Gibbs, so he is going to head back out onto circuit, but lots and lots of time lost, and the race leader is bearing down on him in reality, Christian England, with an advantage now between himself and Tony Wells, who sits there in second place, but he hasn't really as yet still shaken away the number 79 Courier Cuscar of Alistair McCaig as they head through Redgate corner. The battle's continuing on circuit at Donington Park in the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup. Join us for more after the break. Welcome back to Donington Park, where the first ever championship race for the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup is underway. Number 2, Christian England leading. These cars second, third and fourth, just heading round through Roberts. But the pit window is open now, and diving for the pit lane are the cars from second and third on the road. So into the pits comes Tony Wells. Into the pit lane comes the number 79 car of Alistair McCaig. It also looks as though Jason Rishover is in at the wheel of the number 23 car, as the teams are ready to receive those cars in what looks like a very busy pit lane, which is now about to be joined by two more. Steve Tandy in to hand the car over to Karun Chandhok, and the pole-sitting car of Paul Bailey has also made its way into the pit lane. So with Alistair McCaig having put in a solid stint, let's hear from him in the pit lane.
Ali, how was the first part of that race for you?
Yeah, it was good. The start was pretty hectic. I got hit on the right-hand side going down Hollywood in the Craner Curves, which isn't ideal. But yeah, got back up to third. I lost a few places at the start, but got back to third. Was catching the two guys in second and first, and I think we were quickest on track until we did the driver change. So I was pretty happy with that.
And so he should be happy as well, as should this man, Christian England, who still continues to lead the race, but of course is yet to pit. It will be the American driver, Andrew Evans, who will take over that car. Those that have pitted are now racing their way back down the pit lane, so back out onto circuit will come the number 3 car, now in the hands of Matt Bell, and the number 79 car that will have Colin Noble on board for the second part of the race. Here comes Christian England. Also out of the pit lane is now the quick Australian driver, Tom Randall. He appears out on circuit just ahead of the race leader, as this now is a side-by-side battle, as Colin Noble looks to try and squeeze his way through it up the inside of Matt Bell. There's almost contact between the two of them. Matt Bell has to take to the curbs and the gravel in avoidance, but Colin Noble has gone through to take up the place. Into the pit lane now comes number 2, so this is the race leader coming in. So that is Christian England to hand over to Andrew Evans, and this is the number 7 car that's now in the hands of ex-Formula 1 driver Karun Chandhok, who's out here this weekend then at Donington Park. We've seen lots of Karun racing in the UK. The last time he raced back here was when he was racing in British Formula 3 many years ago. This is the number 6 car. This leads the race at the moment. This is Andy Dimitru, who is still as yet to pit. Drilling his way back down the pit lane comes what was the car of Christian England. It's now in the hands of Andrew Evans. Where's he going to feed back out on the circuit? Because Colin Noble is just working his way onto the start-finish straight. As out of the pit lane comes the erstwhile race-leading car, now in the hands of the American driver, and it does look as though the 2014 Pacific Formula 2000 champion from America is just ahead of Colin Noble as they head out of Redgate Corner and down through Hollywood. It looks as though the 28-year-old is going to have to stick his elbows out here because Colin Noble's trying to squeeze his way through. There's contact between the two of them in the middle part of the Craner Curves, which is a hugely daunting corner in itself, let alone when you brush wheels with someone else. But it looks as though they've largely got away with that there. Colin Noble might, as they head through Schwanzkirchen and up toward McLean's, yet take up the position. So place gained by Colin Noble. So he now moves his way through up into the order. Still the number 6 car of Andy Dimitru leads the race, but he's yet to pit and hand that car over to Bob Berridge. So it's Colin Noble now up into 2nd position. It's Andrew Evans down to 3rd. And in 4th place is going to be the number 3 car in the hands of Matt Bell at this stage. So onto the brakes, turning his way in towards the Robert chicane comes Colin Noble with a pair of United Autosports cars sitting directly behind him at this stage. So over the start-finish line they'll come. You can see just in the distance as well the grey car with the blue flashes. That is Jamie Spence, who's beginning to close in. Jamie, who did lots and lots of racing throughout the course of the 1990s and in towards the 2000s, but then had a big long break from racing, but is always hugely rapid no matter what he drives. Karun Chandhok still pressing on, he's putting in some quick laps. Into the pit lane has come Andy Dimitru, so vacating the lead of the race, he will hand that car over to Bob Berridge. By the look of things, still in the pit lane is the Speedworks car. Dean Gibbs and Jack Butel have had a difficult weekend with that car, as now this is going to be a squabble for 2nd and 3rd between the 2 United Autosports cars. Bouncing over the curbs goes the number 3 car of Matt Bell, hugely experienced, whilst this car still continues to lead. Colin Noble setting fastest lap after fastest lap at this stage, really starting to build the advantage. As on through the gravel goes the United Autosports car of Andrew Evans, so throws 2nd place away, makes a mistake at what is quite a difficult corner, the blind entry, double apex right-hander at Coppice Corner. He is eventually able to scrabble his way back onto the grass. The car bounces around, will retake to the tarmac, but that is going to have released Matt Bell into what will be 2nd position. Now the Speedworks car is back out. Great to see that Jack Butel is behind the wheel of that car, driver that we saw racing for the last couple of years in the MSA Formula. And that is a slowing car of Bob Berridge, by the look of things, the 6 car. Certainly has got some sort of issue. He's no longer at full race pace by the look of things. Donington Park has been a very good one, to say the least. Karun Chandhok still pressing on. Driver who raced, of course, in British Formula 3, in A1GP, in Formula 1, in GP2, in the World Endurance Championship, and even in Formula E. He's really enjoying his weekend at Donington Park. This is a side-by-side battle, not 4 position. This is Sarah Moore trying to work her way back through and ahead of Bob Berridge. She's on the right-hand side of the circuit. It's got the inside line for the Robert chicane, and by the look of things, right, a little bit too late on the brakes, can't quite make the Robert chicane, and therefore rather than turn in and skitter across the gravel, it's going to be a fully 360-degree turn for the Top Gun Motorsport car, and it will rejoin, albeit potentially at least 1 place lost, I fear there. That's for the number 23 car in the hands of Jamie Spence, but that car is going very well indeed at this stage. Jamie working terribly hard. We saw huge chunks of Jamie in British Formula 3 throughout the 90s and even through to the latter part of 2001. He's going well. The number 7 car at the moment of Karun Chandhok going even better. Squeezes his way through and past Bob Berridge and then starts to propel the car downhill. A warm-up for the Spa 24-hour this is for Karun Chandhok, and also for Le Mans. We'll see him back out racing at Le Mans later in the year. Flash of the lights for the number 72 car of Tom Randall. He has now taken up the fastest lap of the race and is beginning to close in onto the coattails of Andrew Evans. So the Aussie catching the American driver as they thread their way onto the top of Hollywood. They've got Sarah Moore just ahead of them as well at the wheel of the Topworth Motorsport prepared car. And as they now dive down through the right-hander, Tom Randall, who raced in the BRDC Formula 3 Championship last year, finished 6th overall in the championship standings. Converting to sports cars, is now surely going to gain a place over Andrew Evans. Has the inside line to see for Coppice. The two of them very bravely side by side through Coppice Corner, but job done. The Aussie goes through, the American losing the position. Now look, they're also starting to close in onto the Topworth Motorsport prepared car, which is in the process of trying to map the signature to Bob Berridge. So lots and lots still going on in this first ever championship race for the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3. Tom Randall squeezes his way through to see ahead of Bob Berridge. No, not quite. Hugely experienced Bob Berridge, who's raced in so many things over the course of the years, including British Formula 3, British touring cars briefly. of course more associated with historic Group C sports car racing nowadays, eventually allows the Australian driver to go through. So, place gained by Tom Randall, place lost by Bob Berridge, who is now going to potentially have his pocket picked by the next set of cars. This is now a battle for what is second position, because it looks as though Jamie Spencer's going to squeeze his way up the inside of the number 3 car of Matt Bell, and it does look as though he's gone through as well. Not a great deal of defence put up by Matt Bell there, and already you can see that Jamie Spence is just now starting to pull away. Got through, got past without a great deal of worry, and has already built a couple of car lengths advantage. This is also the battle for 4th place. Sarah Moore under pressure from the charging Tom Randall, who is at the moment the fastest car on circuit and has set the fastest lap of the race in his pursuit to try and work his way up into 4th position. So over the start-finish line now comes Sarah Moore under pressure again. The flash of the lights. What's the Aussie going to do? He jinks out from behind, has the inside line for Redgate corner, and is able to squeeze his way through. Sarah Moore tries to stick her elbows out to hang on to the place, but by the time they head to the top of Hollywood, it's job done as far as Tom Randall is concerned. Out front and leading is Colin Noble, who has now managed to build the advantage. It was all rather close come the exit of the pit stops. And this is a problem. Matt Bell's got a rear left-hand puncture by the look of things. So it looks as though there is clearly an issue with that United Autosports car and the Pirelli tyre on that side of it. Fingers crossed he'll be able to limp it back round to the pits, but he's going to lose places here, and that is going to allow Karun Chandhok to go through into potentially a podium place there. So the number 7 car that he shares with Steve Tandy has gone through, and this is right at the closing stages of the race. Poor old Matt Bell and a somewhat disappointed Tony Wells, the reigning European Radical Champion, will be distraught on the pit wall, whilst this car still continues in the lead of the race. The number 79 car looking as though it is going to head towards a victory. Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig have both driven pretty much faultlessly throughout the course of this first ever championship race for the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup. They work their way out of Roberts over the start-finish line and win the first championship round of 2017. Great victory for them, the Ecuria Cross team, and of course Nielsen, who prepared that car. Second is going to go the way of Jason Rishover and Jamie Spencer. This car here, Steve Tandy and Karun Chandhok. The misfortune for United Autosports is the fortune for T-Sport. They come through, play the final podium place, just ahead of Mike Newbold and Tom Randall in the Douglas Motorsport car, who finish in 4th place. Confirmation of the results is a win for Noble and McKay ahead of Rishover and Spence, with Karun Chandhok and Steve Tandy in 3rd. Mike Newbold and Tom Randall were 4th, ahead of Top Gun Motorsport pairing in 5th place, Christian England and Andrew Evans in 6th position. Let's hear from the winners.
Yeah, brilliant race, yeah. Couldn't start the season off any better.
It looked like a pretty tricky start.
Yeah, Alistair got put back a bit, but he did really well to bring up the 3rd and caught the 2 leaders, so gave me an easier job. I just needed to, I took my chances early on and got my head down and just built the gap.
Boys, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I've got to thank Jason, he done the first part for me, so he left me a little task, but it wasn't too bad.
How did it feel out there?
Tough to start with, but it was good to get in the race. Once you settled in, it was just chasing people down. But both of us good pairing were today, and him to get out there and chase down, which is our plan. We had a plan and it worked quite well.
Brilliant, and we were talking about walking through the data afterwards, so are you going to be going into your coaching role?
Massively, he's never good enough. I'm always on him, trust me.
Always.
3rd place, congratulations guys, a solid result.
Yeah, very happy with that. Really well done to the guys T-Sport, because this morning the car hadn't yet turned a wheel. We sort of wheeled it out of free practice. Neither Steve or I had even driven an LMP3 car. And you know, we worked today, we worked on our driving, we worked on the car, and here we are, I suppose.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. I mean, fantastic to sort of get a podium first time out, and great thanks to the team Sport, great car, and Karun, who's been coaching me today. So so onwards and upwards.
Well, Ecuria Cross take the win for the first round of the LMP3 Cup here at Donington Park. Join us after the break for the 2nd pit stop race.
This started out as a celebrity driver in the Henderson British LMP3 Championship, but most people who know and those who don't, it's a 2-driver format. So we needed somebody to sit alongside the celebrity. The celebrity initially is all about profile, and that in turn, we are hoping, raises the profile of this young driver. This is really about giving somebody an opportunity they wouldn't normally get. There's a lot of very good drivers at the lower ranks that are aspiring to be on this grid in the Henderson British LMP3 Championship. They're aspiring to go to Le Mans, which is what these cars are, LMP3. These are Le Mans prototypes. They want to get to Le Mans, so you know the experience they'll get will be everything from profile to you know, their immediate exposure and obviously on-track experience. And United Autosports will be running the car, and we hope we can pass that on as well and give them a platform to demonstrate their ability. And if it leads to greater things, then fantastic.
Great to hear of the young driver initiative and the support that United Autosport are giving it. Paul Bailey sits on pole for race number 2 of the weekend alongside his Christian England. Row 2 of the grid is Tony Wells and Jason Rishover, and the third row of the grid sees Richard Dean line up alongside the race 1 winning car that's in the hands of Alistair McCaig for race number 2. Away we go, lights are on, lights go out. Paul Bailey in the black car with the yellow flashes sitting on pole position has already got the 2 United Autosports cars almost level with him on the run up towards Redgate Corner, and sweeping his way around the outside to take up the lead of the race is Christian England. For Paul Bailey, though, I think he's just trying to stay out of harm's way a little bit and has dropped to something like 6th or 7th in the early stages of this one. Christian England leads. It's Tony Wells in 2nd place. Jason Rishover has come through into 3rd position because he's got the red and white number 26 car of Richard Dean sitting behind him by the look of things. Yeah, there is Richard Dean in 4th position. And who's slotted themselves through into 5th place? It's Alistair McCaig who's in 5th place. Paul Bailey down to 6th in the early stages of this one as the cars thread their way through Coppice Corner. These 930 kilogram cars working their way on towards the straight that brings them down towards the braking area for Roberts. There was a snatch break, wasn't there, up at Coppice Corner? That was Mike Newbold who just briefly snatched the break on what's the Douglas Motorsports car as he sits there in what looks like 7th position in the early stages of this one. Over the start-finish line they'll come. The 2 United Autosports cars looking to try and break away from Jason Rishover. More places lost for Paul Bailey. He, by the look of things, might have a problem here because he's tumbled down towards the tail end of the field, and all of a sudden that car seemed to lose power, the pole-sitting number 28 horsepower racing car. The battle for 4th and 5th is most certainly on in the early stages. Richard Dean having to use all of his experience to try and keep the race 1 winner. Alistair McCaig behind. There's lots of dust at the old hairpin, and that's because of the spin. The number 23 car from 3rd position, Jason Rishover, has the spin. Well, we saw a win for one of the Nielsen racing cars in race number 1. Well, in race number 2, there's been a spin for the sister car. And it is that car there, car number 79, that won, of course, the first race. Colin Noble and Alistair McCaig are now still, at the moment, boxed up behind the hugely experienced Richard Dean. There are the lead 4 altogether on the straight, and that looks like a problem for Paul Bailey in the horsepower racing car. He's had a spin by the look of the amount of dust and debris that was just behind that car. Should be able to continue as Richard Dean is coming under pressure still from Alistair McCaig on the run down towards Redgate Corner. Is he going to be close enough as they hit the brakes? The answer will be no, because the safety car is coming out. And the safety car coming out, I would assume, possibly because of Jason Rishover. As Paul Bailey snatches the brakes heading in towards Coppice Corner, I do fear that all might not be well with that car. It's already had 1 spin, and Paul Bailey, under safety cars, just had another now up at Coppice Corner. So lights are on the safety car, and it is just about to peel its way around the circuit. The car's weaving from side to side. Of course, all of these cars powered by the 420 brake horsepower V8 Nissan engine, which Paul Bailey is now going to utilise to get the car pointing in the right direction. Final bit of weaving being done. With the circuit now being clear, we should be able to carry on because Paul Bailey's got going. We can see Jason Rishover at the tail end of the train of cars. And we should be good to go green at the end of this lap. Yep, here we go, get the race back underway. Christian England, the reigning European Le Mans Series LMP3 Cup champion, leads the pack at this stage. Tony Wells, who of course won the 2016 Radical European Masters, sits there in 2nd place, and in 3rd place, right with him, is Richard Dean, who had a fantastic single-seater career before switching to sports car racing. Of course, he won the British GT Championship, what, the best part of almost 20 years ago now. There is number 7, that's Steve Tandy. Very fast, historic Group C sports car racer, another driver we've seen racing in Blancpain and British GT and Lamborghini Super Trofeo. He's teamed up with Karun Chandhok over the course of this weekend. We saw them on the podium in the race earlier on, didn't we? field of cars all bunched together again now. Head round through Coppice. Already, though, it is Christian England starting to build an advantage between himself and Tony Wells, who's now starting to come under a bit more pressure from the charging Topwith Motorsport prepared car, number 26, in the hands of Richard Dean. The red and white car getting ever closer to the second of the two United Autosports cars, and he's bringing with him the Nielsen prepared Courier Cost machine as well of the Race 1 winner, Alistair McCaig, who will hand that car over to the hugely quick and impressive Colin Noble for the second part of the race. Through Redgate, onto the top of Hollywood, 3 for second, third and fourth position, and all of this, if they start to squabble, will play very much into the hands of Christian England, who's already built a bit of an advantage between himself and this trio behind. Safely through the old hairpin, there is our race leader, there is the trio just shortly after, so there's not huge amounts between the top four, largely as a result of it being early on in the race, but also that safety car having bunched them all back up again. Order not changing just as yet, so it's a United Autosport 1-2, Topwith Motorsport there in third place, the Courier Cost Nielsen car of Alistair McCaig sitting there in fourth position in the hands of the Scotsman. And as they propel themselves out of Coppice and down the straight, Alistair McCaig flashing his lights, trying to do anything to get Richard Dean to look in his mirrors and, fingers crossed, make a mistake as far as he's concerned. Richard Dean, who is now in his 50s, is more than wise to that as they thread their way back over the start-finish line once more. Alistair McCaig is in prime position here, maybe to have a nibble on the run up towards Redgate Corner. Has a quick look. Is he going to be able to squeeze his way through? No, Richard Dean gets the door closed just in time and should, for the moment, hang on to the place. But that has delayed Richard Dean that tiny bit of defensive work and has dropped him further away from the car he had been attacking a few laps earlier, that being Tony Wells, the second of the two United Autosports car, the number 3 machine. So there goes through Schwantz Curve the squabble for what is the final podium place in the early stages. Alistair McCaig has not as yet been able to unlock the door to a podium position. There's contact and a spin. Well, that is Mike Newbold that's had the spin, and the other car that's joined him is Jason Rishover in the gravel. Well, it's been a difficult race for Jason Rishover and Jamie Spence. There's other cars having to take to the gravel in avoidance, and I think that might have been Steve Tandy possibly that had to take to the gravel in avoidance because he's lost a little bit of time on that lap, and it's bringing about, unfortunately, the safety car again. So with Jason Rishover in the gravel, Mike Newbold needing the help of the marshals as well at Donington Park, we head back under safety car for the second time in race number 2. Jason Rishover back out of the gravel. He's now working his way onto the tarmac and should hopefully see the safety car head back into the pit lane at the end of this lap. But nobody's really getting away now as a result of these two safety car periods in the early stages of race number 2 of the weekend. In fact, Jason Rishover bringing the car into the pit lane by the look of things. As we get the race back underway, once more it's up to Christian England to get going. So away goes the 35-year-old, pushing on in the lead of the race. Tony Wells sitting there in second position, but all of the cars still very tightly bunched at this stage. And you can see at the tail end of the field just how close it is now that they've all managed to get themselves bunched back up again. The United Autosports cars are already starting to break away again, very quick out of the box they've been at the get-go again for this restart of race number 2 of the weekend of the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup. There is the number 72 car of Mike Newbold. We saw that going really well in the hands of Tom Randall in the first race of the weekend, where Tom posted the fastest lap of the race. And at the moment, number 72, Mike Newbold, is in 7th position, looking to try and squeeze his way through and ahead of Dean Gibbs. Dean Gibbs, in only his second season of motorsport, raced in the GT Cup in an Aston Martin GT4 last year, stepping up to an LMP3 car, so arguably one of the least experienced drivers in the field, but has been doing great things over the course of this weekend, working with Jack Butel, his teammates, Christian Dick, Speedworks owner, and the boys to go through the data and establish where he can improve his times, and he's just working his way, getting quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker, and he's got Mike Newbold tucked right up behind him at the moment as they turn their way through McLean's corner. The Douglas Motorsport car cannot as yet work its way through and ahead of the Speedworks number 96 machine that lay ahead, and also the T-Sport car of Steve Tandy's not that far away, so this is a great little trio, all busy fighting away. But at the moment, it doesn't look as though Mike Newbold is quite close enough to do a great deal about it heading in towards a braking area for Roberts. So it's still just Dean Gibbs from Mike Newbold, from Steve Tandy, as they thread their way back over the start-finish line in what has been yet again another fantastic race. After here at Donington Park, they'll head to Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit in a few weekends' time, where the cars could really, again, stretch their legs. But this nose-to-tail battle still in exactly the same order. So through. Right-hander at Coppice, the Pirelli tyres working well, the V8 Nissan engine going superbly well. They all run the controlled fuel as well, which is the Sunoco fuel. And is this Steve Tandy? Is he going to have a look at the inside of Mike Newbold? No, he thought about it. The number 7 car couldn't quite pick his way through. As we now look towards what is the battle for second closing up. Richard Dean, who was under pressure from Alistair McCaig, has now moved away and has caught back up with Tony Wells. So through they go, the number 26 red and white Topworth car, pulling away from that car there, the race 1 winning car, which still resides down in 4th at the moment. And they are the lead 4 still. You could just see them all on the same straight. Christian England turns his way through Roberts' corner. A second or so later, here comes 2nd, 3rd, and then Alistair McCaig there in 4th position. The Courier Cos car, fresh from victory in race number 1. Would dearly like to try and make it at least a podium in both races. Ideally, the top step of the podium, I'm sure. Still a reasonable chunk of the race to go as the cars turn their way through Redgate Corner. Here is the horsepower racing car, Paul Bailey. That's had its problems throughout the course of this race. He is now at the moment still looking to try and keep the number 96 car of Dean Gibbs behind as they trundle their way up towards the braking area for Redgate Corner. Paul Bailey hanging on to the position, but of course he lost time early on with that trip into the gravel trap. He's looking to come under ever more pressure of the cars behind. As for the battle for 3rd, well, it keeps swinging round, doesn't it? Richard Dean, not that many laps ago, was right back up onto terms and attacking Tony Wells, but he's now fallen back into the clutches of Alistair McCaig. An intriguing battle that's going on here at Donington Park for round number 2 of the Henderson Insurance Brokers LMP3 Cup. Join us for more after the break. Welcome back to the LMP3 Cup at Donington Park, where the pit window is open and the number 28 car that was on pole position in the hands of Paul Bailey, but is now 2 laps adrift, heads for the pit lane. But more importantly, the cars in 6th, 7th and 8th are all in together. Mike Newbold, Dean Gibbs and the number 7 T-Sport car of Steve Tandy. Whilst they're in the pit lane, the front running cars remain out on circuit. In the case of Alistair McCaig, he's threading his way through Coppice Corner, whereas the race leader, Christian England, is heading around through Roberts. It looks as though he's going to head out for another lap around the circuit. He remains on circuit, but the cars in 2nd, 3rd and 4th are all in. So Tony Wells is in, Richard Dean is in, and also Alistair McCaig at the wheel of the Courier Cos number 79 car is in. And this now is the point of the race with a clear circuit. Christian England, if he can press on and set some quick laps, he'll put himself and his co-driver, Andrew Evans, the American driver, in a very strong position for the second part of the race here at Donington Park. The cars that were first to pit come back out of the pit lane, so Andy Schultz having taken over the black car with its yellow flashes, that's a couple of laps adrift, but Karun Chandhok, who's now behind the wheel of the number 7 car, has jumped the 2 cars that he was behind. So shuffling the order there, the T-Sport car goes ahead of the Speedworks car and the Douglas Motorsport car that's now in the hands of the Australian driver Tom Randall. Olivia's caught up with Steve Tandy in the pits.
Steve, how was that?
Yeah, that was good. That was quite fraught. Obviously with 2 safety cars in the first half hour, that's quite unusual in a 10-car race. But there was some pretty wild driving going on out there, and I think it was car 23 just made a wild move up the inside of the Douglas car. Wasn't going to happen. They both touched and spun, and I had to sort of take avoiding action around the outside into the grass and gravel at Coppice, but we recovered, and then they called the safety car again to recover him. So other than that, yeah, all good. So down to Karun now.
Fairly happy Steve Tandy in the pit lane. As out of the pits comes the number 3 car now in the hands of Matt Bell. Also number 79, the Courier Cos car, has been handed over to Colin Noble, and he's been chased out of the pit lane by car number 26, which is Sarah Moore. So looks as though again in the pit lane there's been a change of order there, because the Topworth Motorsport car comes out behind the race-winning car from the first race. New fastest lap of the race for Christian England, doing exactly what I thought he would do on a clear circuit, pressing on, trying to put himself in prime position to come into the pits, hand the car over to Andrew Evans and maintain the lead of the race. And this now is Karun Chandhok looking to try and squeeze his way through it ahead of Andy Schultz. Number 28 horsepower racing car is a couple of laps adrift following its problems earlier on in the race, so Andy Schultz allows the T-Sport machine in the hands of Karun Chandhok, the Indian driver, to work its way through. And for Karun, that now also means that he's got daylight between himself and the pair of cars that came out of the pit lane just behind him. So good job having been done. We saw that car, didn't we, on the podium in race number 1. And it looks as though Andy Schultz is about to move out of the way and allow the number 96 car to go through, which is Jack Butel, the driver who was racing in the MSA Formula over the last couple of years. And also I think it's going to be Tom Randall, the Australian, who is also now looking to work his way through. So Andy Schultz allowing the traffic to go through. Now the traffic has gone through, $1 that Andy Schultz is going to press on because he qualified that car on pole for both races. Into the pit lane comes the car of Christian England. So at this stage of the race, is it going to get back out ahead of this car? Well, it's just got over the start-finish line, Matt Bell. Next time round, the race for the lead will be coming out of the pit lane, and here it comes now because Andrew Evans has taken over the number 2 United Autosports car. And is it going to hang on to the lead of the race? It comes out, and there's no Matt Bell in the distance, not just as yet, so it does maintain the lead of the race. So the American driver, who of course won the Pacific Formula 2000 Championship back in 2014, leads the race, and you can see the way he's bouncing the cars over the curves. He knows he's got to get on with it in the early stages of his stint. Nice fresh set of tyres on there. The fuel load is that little bit lighter as well. And as they then thread their way through what is Robert Chicane, you can see the relative gap between the 2 United Autosports cars and the car that's there in 3rd position in the distance. So still not a great deal in it, but it is Andrew Evans that leads the race. It is Matt Bell there in 2nd place. Matt, a hugely experienced driver who we've seen racing in a range of different sports car championships over the years, including in the UK and in Europe and in America as well, is starting to close in on the American driver. So nose to tail, the 2 teammates for the lead of the race. They won't want to hold each other up too much because they'll be able to see that the Ecuria Koss Nielsen prepared car of Colin Noble is beginning to close in. And is this the opportunity for Matt Bell? Yeah, he has a jink up the inside. He's looking for the inside line at Redgate Corner. He goes through to take up the lead of the race, and well, sensible driving really from Andrew Evans. I think he knew the car behind was quicker. He knows it's his teammate, and therefore, rather than hold each other up and then put yourselves both under pressure from the car in 3rd, which isn't that far behind, yeah, just let him take up the lead of the race and see if it comes back to you. Bounces over the curb, so does Andrew Evans coming out of the old hairpin, and that is going to compromise his run and drop him right into the clutches of Colin Noble, who is charging. Is Colin Noble going to be able to squeeze his way through a coppice? No, he's just going to sit behind as they turn their way through the right-hander and looks to try and sneak up the inside on the exit of the corner, which he's been able to do side by side down the exhibition straight. That gives the number 79 car the inside line for the braking area for Roberts, and it is Colin Noble that goes through to take up 2nd place. So Andrew Evans, having come back out of the pit lane in the lead, is now frustratingly, as far as he's concerned, down in 3rd. He's not done a great deal wrong either, has he? You can also see the 4th place car of Sarah Moore, the red and white car in the distance, is not too far away. So great little fights going on all the way down through the order. Now the big question is, what can Colin Noble do, car number 79, about reeling in our race leader, number 3, Matt Bell, where we saw real misfortune for Matt Bell and Tony Wells in race number 1 when they had that puncture towards the tail end. But it looks as though Colin Noble is answering the questions, because he has now just posted the fastest lap of the race that we've seen so far. He is charging to try and get himself onto the coattails of the race leader, having dispensed reasonably effectively and quickly with one of the United Autosports cars. What can he do with the next one? And now, by the look of things, Andrew Evans is in danger of falling out of the podium places here, because Sarah Moore is charging her way. The Topworth Motorsport prepared car, the family prepared car that she shares with Richard Dean, is now almost in the podium places, right behind the American driver as they fight over 3rd position, threading their way down through the daunting crane of curves, through the very quick right-hander at the old hairpin. Andrew Evans again just raises the dust on the exit of the old hairpin. Needs to be careful really, because he's bouncing the cars over the curves, which the LMP3 cars don't overly like. The GT3 car, you can get away with it, but an LMP3 car will soon answer you back. And it looks as though Sarah Moore has squeezed her way through. Great driving up the inside from the former Ginetta Junior champion, and she goes through to take up 3rd place. But already Andrew Evans looking to try and fight back. This is now the battle for the lead as well, because Matt Bell is under an increasing amount of pressure. Former Radical SR1 champion Colin Noble. Matt Bell tries to go defensive down the exhibition straight, but Colin Noble's got the Ecuria Koss car alongside, and surely he's going to go through to take the lead of the race. Yes, he does, on the brakes, up towards Roberts. Nice clean move from Colin Noble. He goes through to take up the lead of the race, and Matt Bell is going to have to sit in his Pirelli wheel tracks down the Wheatcroft straight, also with back markers potentially coming into play before too much longer. As you can see, there was a slower car just up the road from them. That will be, I think, the number 6 car, which is being driven solo in this race by Bob Berridge. As for Andrew Evans, though, since losing what is 3rd position, he's just fallen away, hasn't he, from Sarah Moore, who seems to have the better car underneath her at this stage of the race. And as we then head towards the top section of the circuit at Coppice Corner, yeah, the amount of daylight growing all the time between the number 26 car of Sarah Moore, and the number 2 car in the hands of Andrew Evans, who just seems to have sort of lost the fire out of his belly at this stage. Still working hard though, running over the curbs and pressing on, but all of the time the gap is growing. This car here, Sarah Moore, pulling away. Great to see Sarah and of course Richard Dean on the podium. Richard having a one-off race in reality, the man who works so hard behind the scenes at United Autosports. But it certainly now looks as though Colin Noble has built enough of an advantage over Matt Bell so as not to have to worry too much about the United Autosports car in towards the closing stages of this race. And for himself, the Ecuria Cost team and of course Nielsen Racing, they look good for a double victory with the hard work done by both Colin Noble Jr. and of course Alistair McCaig. Cut off by the look of things, that's the car that was in 4th place. Andrew Evans has deposited the number 2 United Autosports Ligier into the barriers by the look of things. You can see damage to the circuit furniture, damage to the tail end of the number 2 car, and yeah, a rather, I would imagine, disappointed American sitting behind the wheel of that car. And it looks as though he is not going to be able to take the checker flag. In fact, the red flags are coming out because of the position that that car has come to rest. So it will be a non-finish for the number 2 car. And this car here will claim a double victory. Alistair McCaig and Colin Noble for Ecuria Cost and Nielsen Racing take a double victory in the 2nd ever race for the Henderson Insurance LMP3 Cup. Confirmation then, Noble and McCaig claim the win ahead of Tony Wells and Matt Bell in 2nd place, and the Top With Motorsport pairing of Richard Dean and Sarah Moore are there in 3rd position. 4th place goes away of Karun Chandhok and Steve Tandy. Let's hear from the winners.
That was the result we wanted, a double win. We had a good clean start to the race. Colin did an absolutely fantastic job. I mean, that win was down to him. He reeled the 2 United Autosports cars in and just pulled away, setting consistently quickest laps of the race. So it was the perfect result and what we wanted.
You were first out in the car. Did those 2 safety cars make an impact on you?
Not really. If anything, it helped us. It bunched the pack back up and kept the field nice and tight. So it was all down to Colin in the second half of the race, and he did a great job. So well
yeah,
done.
Another great race, 2 wins in a row. So yeah, I had to work a wee bit more for that one, but pace was so good. The car was really good right to the end, so I could just be consistently doing good lap times. And yeah, I just took my chances when I got them to get past the traffic.
Perfect. Well, a great win. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, it looks like you enjoyed your champagne shower there.
Oh, that was great, wasn't it? That's what we do it for.
Congratulations on your 2nd.
Yeah, it was a great race in the end. We just didn't quite have the pace to snag first, so we'll be looking for that for the next one. But makes up for yesterday with the unfortunate puncture right at the end that took us podium off us. So yeah, we'll look forward to the next one. But we'll celebrate this. Tony's done well, especially coming in a flight from Abu Dhabi just before the start of the race weekend. So yeah, a flying visit. But yeah, very happy.
So jet lagged and covered in champagne. I'm very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had plenty of caffeine, and I've got a trophy to show the kids, so they'll be happy when they get back. So it's all good, really.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Sarah, congratulations.
Thank you. It was. I'm absolutely knackered after that. It was a good race. I thought it would be a little bit harder than it was to get past United number 2 car, but it was a bit all over the place. So yeah, really happy with that. I pulled away quite well from him, and then it was just a case of I wanted to get it to the end and get the podium, so really happy.
Well, an exciting weekend of racing here at Donington Park. Noble and McCaig of the Ecuria Cost car taking the win. Join us next time for rounds 3 and 4 of the LMP3 Cup Championship.